Welcome back, Indy NXT Debrief, as me and Archie reflect on all of Indy NXT action at Portland International Raceway in yet another interesting weekend as the championship battle continues to heat up with just 2 rounds to go.
Once again, we bring you an interview with the race winner. Alessandro de Tullio is on the show, as well as Max Taylor for the first time in several months after his return to the podium for the first time since May.
The only bad news is it ends our incredible streak of having a different driver on every race so far this season, but Alessandro and Max have been good friends of the show throughout the year, so it is good to have them back on after a little bit of time away from the podcast.
So, first of all, here is de Tullio speaking about his long-awaited second victory in Indy NXT competition.
So we're now joined by Alessandro de Tullio after his victory at Portland. Alessandro, congratulations, back in victory lane for the second time this year. How does it feel? Great to have you back on the show after a little while.
Yeah, it's good to get the win this time officially. No issues in tech or anything. And yeah, it's really important. We really needed that. Obviously, the standings are a little bit difficult right now. Because of the stuff that has happened. So what we wanted as a team was to finish the year strong in terms of the races that are left. So we've definitely started this last bit of the year pretty strong with getting the win at Portland. We have one more oval, which would be nice to win one oval this year. So we're going to go for that as well. And then we have the last 2 at Laguna. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing the season strong.
So we last caught up with you in the month of May at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A bit more boring, over 6,000 miles away on the Google Meet. But tell us about your Indy 500 experience. Am I right in saying it was your first one, or at least your second one? Kind of, how did you find the whole experience? How did you find the race?
That was my first time. Yeah, that was my first time. And it was great. You know, it was awesome. I was able to spend time with the AJ Foyt team. I was able to be in some of the debriefs, which was pretty cool. And then the whole show was spectacular. You know, like it's crazy. It's the biggest or one of the biggest races in the world. So being able to see that, I watch it every year on TV, but being able to be there this time for the first time was super cool. Especially being in the debriefs, like I said, it's nice to learn and basically enjoy it, but at the same time learn and be a sponge, pretty much. Just take in as much information, because one day I'm hoping to be there driving it.
So kind of take us through kind of your Portland weekend. Obviously victorious, as we said, once again. This time you got through tech all okay. So pretty dominant weekend really from start to finish. You took the pole, didn't get taken out of turn 1 this time, and never looked back from there. So yeah, just kind of how do you reflect on the weekend as a whole?
Yeah, just super happy again. Well, to start with, our quality performance was again top notch, which was very good. The car was good. I was able to execute. So that was getting another pole was awesome. This time was a little bit close than what I would have wanted in terms of the gap, but we got it done. And I think it was important to get it done considering how tricky Portland is in turn 1. And then the race was also awesome. We changed a little bit of stuff to get a good race balance, and we pretty much nailed it. We were quick. I was able to open a gap and just manage the tires, manage my push to pass. Luckily, we only had one safety car, so just one restart to worry about. Got that done pretty nicely. Got a good exit out of the last corner, and didn't really have to defend in turn 1. And again, from there, it was just about not making mistakes, staying on track, keeping the tires alive, and save the push-up pass just in case. So, and the car was great. The team gave me a great car once again. This time we were able to, just like at Road America, we were able to show what we have in the race since we didn't get hit. We were able to show our race pace, and it shows that we have a strong race car as well, and we could get it done in the race and not just quality. So that was, very good weekend overall.
So you talk about getting it done in qualifying. That's 8 poles now, 11 front rows this year, which is, I mean, 8 poles is a joint record. So I know you wouldn't want to give away any secrets there, but I guess just talk a bit about how you feel in the car in qualifying to be constantly delivering laps like this most weekends, essentially. Like, what are some of the things that I guess you're feeling most comfortable with in qualifying that's leading to this level of performance so consistently?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't want to say too much.
Yeah,
It's
no, don't give your competitors an edge.
I think the biggest thing is the chemistry I have with my engineer, with Joe. He's awesome. He's a great guy to work with. Very easy to talk to. He understands me well. I understand him well. Literally every weekend. We approach the weekend also in a very positive way every time, even after all the shit that has happened this year. We're still we still take the positives from the weekends, and I think that's what makes us stronger. Um, so yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, really. Just my relationship with my engineer. It's yeah, it's amazing, the chemistry we have. He understands me very well, so we just, yeah, it's about working together. And then in the end, it's down to me, obviously, to not make mistakes, to put the lap together in quali. Um, and he also helps me with that, and the debriefs, going over data, video, analyzing everything. He helps me with some of the driving stuff as well. So yeah, it's a teamwork between us, and then it's just about it's down to me to execute in the end.
And you mentioned obviously the importance of this pole, given I guess everyone talks about turn one, lap one in Portland and how chaotic it can be. And unfortunately, you've had your fair share of turn one issues this year. So I guess going into this particular turn one, like, did you have much of a plan in mind? Like, how did you want to approach it to kind of maximize the chances of avoiding any chaos that may unfold?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't really try to think too much about what can go bad, because I just didn't want to think in that way. But in the back of my head, I do know how tricky Portland turn one is. But I did my homework. I watched videos from previous years, race starts. I think what Kaio did last year was quite good. He just barely like understeered a bit and had to park it, and that's why Dennis got him. But everything before that, I think, was good. So I tried to kind of replicate that, but make the corner a little bit better to not have to park it in turn two. It was tricky because I didn't want to go too narrow, because then that would allow a lot of space for Lockie to run the outside. But I didn't want to leave the door open for Max that was behind me. So it was just about car placement, which I think was pretty good. I was able to get a good car placement. And then it's just about not outbraking yourself. But I saw Lockie really went for it, so I had to also worry about him a little bit. But yeah, we got it done. We got through turn one, thankfully.
And I guess kind of after that point, there really isn't really much for us to debrief about your race, because you led from start to finish. You looked pretty comfortable. You weren't really having to manage, well, you were managing a gap. You weren't really under any pressure from Lockie and Max behind. So kind of when you crossed the line, kind of what was the relief of finally getting another victory? As we say, you've had many near misses throughout the season so far, and maybe results that didn't quite go your way. So it's been a long time since your last victory at Barber. So kind of just how does it feel getting it done again this season after all the struggles so far?
To be honest, it was a little bit at the line. It was a little bit bittersweet because I used the sun pusher pass in the last lap and did a proper push in a way, but I got the lapped car in front of me. That gave me quite a bit of air wash, so I missed the fastest lap by a little bit. I really wanted it. So when I found out I missed it by like a quarter of a tenth, I was pissed off. But then I did turn one, turn two, and I was like, okay, I won the race. It's fine. So yeah, I was happy after.
Why do you care so much about the fastest lap? You don't get a bonus point or anything. Is it like a pride thing? Like, what is the purpose
no
of
bonus
chasing the fastest lap? I might be wrong. Is there a bonus point?
It's not really about the point. Like at this stage where I'm at, 1 point, I don't think changes much, to be honest. I just wanted the fastest lap. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to, what is it called? Like, I don't know. I don't care. Like, I think they call it Grand Slam or something. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
what they
So
call
it's
it.
more of an F1
I don't really
term,
care
isn't it?
about that. It's not about the name. I just wanted the fastest lap. I don't know. I wanted to challenge myself a little bit, but unfortunately, I got that bit of air wash to their last sector because of the lapped car. So I also didn't want to make a mistake. Imagine that would suck.
Let's speak about your year generally as a whole. Like, ultimately, there is no doubting the amount of poles you've had. You've been very quick throughout the course of the year, but obviously you've had a lot of bad luck. So kind of, how do you assess the year? Obviously very quick, but a lot of missed opportunities, what could have been in a lot of cases. So kind of like maybe compared to what you expect in pre-season, how do you look back at the majority of the season so far?
I mean, there's different ways to look at the season. I think we deserve a lot more in what's the championship, as like points as a whole, with the pace we've had, and 8 poles out of 14 races, 12 front row starts, and we're sitting, I think, 6th in the championship. It's tough, but it also shows how quick we've been all year and how well executed we have been. And every time we don't get taken out, we have the pace to finish, to challenge for the win or to be on the podium. Yeah, I think, Barber, we got taken out with just a handful of laps to go in a race that we pretty much had controlled. And then we had the lapped cars in the way, and then we got hit. Arlington and Detroit, you can kind of argue a little bit because it's lap 1. Anything can happen in the 40 laps that there is of the race. But, Barber, we were coming to the end and I got taken out. So, I think that was a win that got taken away from us. Road America with the DQ, that's another one. So if you put that into perspective, it's a lot of points that are gone. So obviously we deserve to be a lot higher in the championship and a lot closer in the championship fight, but it is what it is. Still really happy with the speed we've had all year, with the work that the team has done, with my engineer, like I said before, the chemistry and the way we work together is amazing. So you have to look at the positives more than the negatives. Anything can happen in a championship of 17 races, but at least we have to show for when we're there.
I guess looking at Road America, like, how do you reflect back on that now? Like, do you still, like, in part of your brain think of that as I kind of won that race? Do you get too caught up in kind of the loss of points there? Like, what's your mindset when you actually look back on that weekend? Like, how do you feel?
No, I don't really think about it unless I get asked a question about it.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's fine. I mean, yeah, we won the race on track, and in the end, we got a DQ for something that doesn't gain us any performance at all. It was pretty much just saying, actually, the tire I raced on had 2 more laps in quali because I came in like a lap or 2 early. So you could say it was a disadvantage if you want. And we won the race on track. Yeah, we lost a lot of points. And, with that weekend that we had at Road America, without the DQ, if you look at it, we were right back in the title fight. I think we were 30 or 40 points, which is, pretty good with the amount of races that we had left at that point. But like I said, it is what it is. Yeah, we won the race on track, but rules are rules, and that mistake costed us, but it's all good. Mistakes happen. I can make a mistake on track too. So yeah, shit happens.
I know rookie years are obviously about learning on track, but I suppose you've been tested kind of mentally as well this year. So I guess through this season, like, what are some of the biggest lessons, particularly through kind of the ups and downs and the adversity that you've had, that maybe you've learned about yourself? Like, what are the big takeaways you've actually got from what has been tricky at points, but maybe you can turn them into positives? Like, what are your feelings about that?
Yeah, it's been a bit tough. But I think the most important is to, like I've said before, just even on bad weekends, there's positives to take, usually, especially with the pace that we've had. So it's about looking at the good side of things and also learning from the bad. Even if there's stuff that maybe we're not at fault, like some incidents, we got taken out, but there's still things that you can learn from it. So I think that's the biggest thing. And yeah, it's about not putting your head down either, not giving up. I think Mid Ohio was the only weekend that I was a bit like that. It had, I had some, how do I say, like, I had some weight on my shoulders from what happened at Road America. Like Mid Ohio was just, we were still quick. Obviously race 2, that happened, but yeah, it was a bit annoying Mid Ohio. Like, it was annoying, but after that we were fine.
We're at that point in the year now, and ultimately we're usually bound to ask this question. Kind of how much at this stage you're looking towards your plans for next year? Are you currently looking at a return to Indy NXT? You're looking at IndyCar options? You may be looking further afield than that. Just kind of tell us maybe some of the steps you're taking towards securing what your plans are for 2027 and beyond.
Yeah, we're getting towards the end of the season, so I'm still trying to focus more on finishing the season strong and doing what I have to do on track. But like you said, we're coming to the end of the season, so I also have to look at what's for next year. Of course, I want to be an IndyCar. But right now, I don't know. I don't know what's for next year, to be honest. If, either or, it's fine to repeat a year. It's fine, and obviously to go to IndyCar, that would be a dream. But yeah, I have not much to say right now because I'm not sure what's for next year yet.
But let's look at the final 3 races, just like you're doing of the season. Obviously, only 2 rounds left and 3 races to go. You're kind of in a slight contention for 4th in the championship. So kind of, does that really matter? Are you just looking for race wins at this point? You've maybe got the pole record still on the line. So kind of maybe, are there some things you're aiming for in these last couple of races of the year?
Yeah, points wise or championship wise, it's not really worried at all about it. And then I think the main goal is it'd be nice to we have 3 races left, so get a few more poles would be nice. Obviously go for the race wins, really. I'm looking to finish the season strong. I don't really care about records or anything, but yeah, if we can get more poles, that'd be great. And I think we can. So yeah, full focus on that, on finishing strong and getting a few more race wins, hopefully.
Your rear wing must be running out of space by now by the amount of stickers you've got to put on it. It's a bit more difficult now trying to find a gap for the later sticker to go on every time.
I think the 8th one was, at least where all of them are right now, the 8th one fit perfect. I think if we get a few more, we'll have to go to the other side of the car numbers. So
it's a different color, your rear wing now. It's changed across the course.
Yeah,
the amount of stickers on it.
It's completely different, yeah.
We've also got to ask you, because you're on here, we're English, the World Cup. I mean, we resent Argentina a little bit for that game. We're still a bit bitter about losing that one in the way that we did. And obviously, you went on to lose the final. So I guess, what was the experience of having the World Cup out in the States? And how do you reflect on Argentina's World Cup as well? Because it was a bit of a roller coaster.
Stress levels were high, man. It was honestly a great World Cup. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to any game just because of our season and being busy, being locked in. But I did watch every game, especially I watched every Argentina game, and it was a crazy experience. All those comebacks that they did, it just shows how passionate and how hungry they were. Unfortunately, we couldn't beat Spain. I think Spain was just too good this year. They had an awesome team and played very well, but Argentina getting to the final again consecutively is awesome. It was a bit sad to lose, but I think still a great accomplishment to make it there.
You still won it 4 years ago. We're up to 60 years waiting for a World
Cup.
So it could be worse. It could be worse.
I know.
I think I'm right in saying I don't remember when this was. Do you meet Sergio Aguero? Did
I met Kuhn and Lavezzi.
Nice. How was that? He must be a bit of an icon in Argentina.
Yeah, he's an icon, of course. Very cool. Both of them very cool people. Kun Aguero actually is involved with Nico Varane in F2. so he knows about racing, and he asked me, how the racing is in the States, how the cars are, what's the differences between racing here and over there. I haven't raced over there, but I did a few Formula tests in Europe. And I know about, I have friends that race over there, so I was able to tell him some differences, and he was pretty interested. And he didn't know about IndyCar and how things work. So it was cool to talk to him about racing. And then also Levis, he was there, and he was also very cool. Didn't know much about racing, but very cool guy as well.
Yeah, well, I really dislike Aguero because I'm a Manchester United fan.
Oh,
so obviously, everything that happened back nearly 15 years ago now on the last day of the season, yeah, never forgiving that.
No? Well, yeah, but you got to respect him, man.
Oh, 100%. And hey,
player.
Cool guy. Showing interest in IndyCar and Indy NXT. You've got to say, cool guy. Fair play.
Yeah, and he's very involved with Nico and F2 with Verona. So it's cool to see that. And you have, what's his name, Courtois as well. He has a racing team. So it's like both worlds kind of merging a little bit. It's cool.
It's cool.
Whilst we're on the sports topic, have you got what football team do you support, I guess, to start off with?
Barcelona.
Is that Messi?
Yeah, I think definitely Messi was in it, because I started, when I was following Barcelona as a kid, Messi was playing there. So I think but even when he left, I don't watch every single La Liga game, but I keep track of how Barca's doing. Champions League, I definitely watch all of Barca's games. So even with Messi not being there, I still love Barca and I support that club. But yeah, definitely Messi made me, be a fan of Barcelona.
We don't really have a sports person like that over here who is basically worshipped. So can you kind of just give an impression of just how much people look up to Messi in Argentina and just how much he actually means to the country? Because I don't think actually over in the UK we have anyone like that who we can really compare it to. So, I mean, what is he like? What esteem is he held in Argentina? What is that like?
I mean, he's like the god, I just think he's obviously a great athlete. One of the best. For me, he's the best player in history. I think even at his age, I think he's still the best player today, arguably. And it's just he's just a legend, and people love him because of his character as well. I've never met him, but he seems like a very humble guy. He has a nice family, it looks like. So it's not like, those soccer, unfortunately, you have some soccer players that, they're great, but only for a short time. And then they go messing about. But Messi is different. And he gave a lot of people in Argentina so many good moments and memories with World Cup, with Copa America. He made Barcelona way bigger as well, gave them so many titles. He's just a legend, man. It's hard to put into words. He's just the best of all time. What do you think?
This is getting political.
Don't say Ronaldo, please.
Being a Man United fan, you kind of have to go slightly more Ronaldo than you do Messi.
It's a funny one. I always unfortunately had that bias being a United fan, having the Ronaldo link. And then when he came back to United, it kind of tarnished that reputation a little bit in my eyes. And he kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. And he's always had that big ego, obviously, that's been very visible. And that ego kind of took over and almost became disrespectful. Whereas Messi just carried on at this high level, quietly going about his business. So yes, I think Messi is the greatest, which is not an opinion I would have held 5 years ago.
Yeah, also just just pure football.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's no argument. I think Ronaldo's a great goal scorer and he's a machine, but
physical specimen.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Yeah, Messi's Messi, man.
Have you seen him play at Inter Miami? Because you're very metaphorically.
Yeah, I actually haven't been to a game in Miami. Never. I should, especially now with the new stadium. Definitely when our season ends, I'll be wanting to go. I went to one in Ohio. I was actually there coaching for a karting race a few years ago, and I landed in Ohio and I realized that Miami was playing Cincinnati. So I went to that game in Ohio. It was a good game. Messi, I think, got 2 goals and an assist or something like that. So I was able to witness greatness too.
Awesome.
Nice.
Let's get back slightly on track with Indy next. I guess you got a little bit of a break before Milwaukee's IndyCar's got a couple of races. So do you have any plans over the next couple of weeks? Are you just going to relax? Kind of, what preparation can be like ahead of Milwaukee? Just tell us what you're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was able to, yesterday was, just went on the boat, relaxed, just chilled, was pretty much a rest day. But today, obviously back to work and prepare and train for Milwaukee. Be ready for Milwaukee. That's what I'll be doing these days. Lots of sim and training.
Nice. And I guess looking at Milwaukee, and I guess looking at the ovals as well, like how have you found this year kind of racing on those higher speed ovals? Obviously Nashville as the last oval as well is kind of a super speedway, kind of a mid-sized sort of oval. So how have you found the ovals this year, kind of making that step up from doing, I guess, just Indianapolis Raceway Park? It's quite different. So yeah, how's that been?
Yeah, it's very different. But it's been great. I think we were very strong at Gateway. Quality was good. The race was good. We had a good result there. Nashville, we had a pretty good quality too. Missed the pole by a little bit. But then we really missed the race balance. So I'm looking forward to Milwaukee. Hopefully we could get our first oval win there. Last oval, so we have one opportunity. But yeah, like you said, it's very different. It's like another sport in a way. Just everything about ovals is different to road course and street courses. But it's awesome. I love it. The racing is so much fun.
Awesome. Alessandro, it's great to catch up with you again. Congratulations on your victory at Portland, and let's hope whether it's this year or early next year, we'll have you back on the show soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, guys.
There's your race winner, Alessandro de Tullio. Great to catch up with Alessandro after a couple of months away from the podcast. Speaking of drivers spent a couple of months away from the podcast, let's catch up with another good friend of the show, Max Taylor. Here's Max reflecting on his third place finish at Portland. So we're now joined for the third time this year by Max Taylor. Max, it's been a very long time, so it's great to have you back on the show. And obviously you finished third place at Portland, so congratulations for being back on the podium.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, it's been a while because, I've been off the podium for a little while here. But, good to be back on the podium and, back on your show.
So last time we actually saw you was at the Indy 500, which was obviously very cool. You kind of got the experience there. So actually, let's just start off with that briefly. Kind of how was your Indy 500 experience the first time being with the Andretti organization? So you were kind of on the stand there for quite a lot of the month of May. So yeah, just how was that experience for you?
Yeah, it's great. You can really see why it's the greatest race in the world, and I hope you guys got to experience that really well. But yeah, no, it was great to be there with Andretti and being, in the prime position the whole month, learning off of Will, Kyle, and Marcus, multiple race winners of that race, and some of the most talented guys to do it. And I was right there in the engineering room in the debriefs and on the box for the race. So it was a really amazing experience. And just one of the benefits of being on the Andretti team.
And let's speak more about your more general life. You've been up to anything interesting, any travels or anything exciting that's gone in the life of Max Taylor in the last, it's almost 6 months or so since we last spoke to you. So a little while.
Yeah, been pretty busy with racing, But yeah, before Portland, I actually went to California to go visit some friends and, just hang out on the beach, go surfing, get some sun, get a little tan. So that was really nice. That was my only sort of vacation that I've got. But yeah, I've been just very, very busy.
So as you mentioned at the start, it has unfortunately been a bit of a long stretch without a podium. We obviously started the season pretty fast. A lot of podiums, obviously a race win at Arlington. So kind of what were the factors that you put down to maybe become this slower mid-season stretch, and maybe kind of how do you bounce back from that, and how did you do so in Portland?
Yeah, I think it's never one thing, it's never just me or just the team or just this or, it's always a whole team effort of a million little things that have to go perfect to win a race or even be on the podium. And I think we've had some bad luck, honestly, recently. And as well, some mistakes on my part. to have sort of this little mid-season slump. Besides Mid Ohio, where that was the only place where we were really off of the pace, where we were just not fast. But everywhere else, we've had really good speed, and it was the same case here in Portland. But yeah, just like little mistakes here and there, and just struggling sometimes to put it together on my part, and sometimes on the team. But yeah, it's just been a little up and down. But I mean, I think I have to remind myself I'm still only my rookie season in Indy NXT, and still pretty inexperienced compared to a lot of these other guys. So yeah, just sort of taking the learning experiences as they go, and just trying to not make the same mistake twice.
So I guess, like, what are your feelings when you look back on the year, like, so far? Like, are you still pleased with it in terms of the positive aspects? Are you frustrated with falling a little bit out of the championship fight? Like, what's the balance of emotions when you kind of look back on it so far?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it. Definitely frustrated that we're further back than I would like going into the last few rounds. But there is a lot of positives to take away from it. First year in Indy NXT, and a lot as well to work on. A lot that I can learn and improve on. And yeah, I mean, it's been a very good season so far. I think we've been really fast, which is the main part. And yeah, I've been loving it, honestly. This has been one of my favorite years for sure in racing, if not my favorite. Working with the Andretti team has been honestly amazing. These guys are really talented, and I can really tell that so many of them believe in me so strongly. And it's cool to see that for sure, to see their support and their determination and grit when it gets hard. So it's been a very enjoyable, but as well obviously up and down, a bit frustrating season. But still happy with how it's gone, I would say.
So I guess, looking at Portland and your return to the podium, like, what are some of your general reflections on the weekend? And I suppose maybe compared to the past few rounds, like, what really kind of went right in Portland? And did you have anything else to give in terms of fighting for the win? Just kind of debrief that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think Portland was finally just our first sort of mistake-free weekend, just a clean weekend where nothing really big went wrong. And I think that is why we were on the podium, a big part of it. Missed the pole in qualifying by a couple 100ths of a second. And I think ultimately that's what we missed the win by not getting that pole. Because, yeah, these Indy NXT races, it can be very difficult to overtake. I had a really good chance into the first corner, but the opportunity wasn't really there, so had to back out. And yeah, I wasn't able to get the lead off the start. And then you could see from everyone else in the field, it was just very difficult to make up any ground without a big pace deficit to the car ahead. So yeah, I just kind of got stuck there. But I think definitely to come away from this with a P3 and just like a clean weekend after a lot of unclean weekends, I'm pretty pleased with. And honestly, I feel better coming out of it than I did coming into it. So I think it's good momentum to carry on to the last two rounds.
And you kind of mentioned there about maybe it is a little bit difficult to overtake at Portland, but I kind of feel like some races this year we've kind of seen that in other circumstances. So do you kind of have any thinking as to maybe why it's so difficult to overtake? Is it just a package thing? Like, if it was, maybe it feels harder than it was in previous years. So does it generally feel like the same for your perspective, that it is pretty hard to overtake in these cars without a big pace advantage?
Yeah, I would say so. Besides maybe some of the big draft tracks like Road America, Indianapolis, and the ovals are completely different. It's definitely been hard to overtake. And I was talking with Lockie about it after the race in Portland with the push to pass. Since we have so much less compared to years past, we end up having to conserve it a lot. We only have 50 seconds for the whole race. And basically all of us didn't use it until the last few laps because we were just conserving it, waiting for the possibility of a safety car. Because if let's say theoretically, I used 40 seconds of it trying to catch up and pass Lockie. And even if I do end up passing him with a push to pass, if there's a restart, I'm just going to get freight trained on the front straightaway because I'm not going to have push to pass. So it becomes you kind of just get handcuffed to conserving all the push to pass that you have in case there is a restart. So it kind of makes for a boring race, I think, where you can't use the push to pass to help you really at all. So I think that's part of it. And then yeah, just hard to follow in these big cars, making a lot of downforce and dirty air. But yeah, it ends up being just kind of a qualifying championship a little bit, and we've just missed it a little bit at most places for the pole.
And a few moments ago, you mentioned turn one, lap one as well, and obviously a lot is made of that at Portland. So I guess coming into, the first corner of the race, like, do you have any different plans at Portland, knowing how difficult it can be and how much chaos there can be? Like, what was your plan going into the start of the race to try and avoid that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's a lot of preparation and a lot of review of the past years, the onboard, the TV footage of what happened, where the guy goes on the start, and what happens into turn one. I looked at Dennis Hauger's onboard. He was able to take the lead last year. He qualified third as well, and he sent it up the inside, and the first place guy ended up overshooting the corner. And that's exactly what I tried to do, and where I was about able to get into that position, but Alessandro just didn't make a mistake. He made the corner completely fine, and I wasn't able to really capitalize on much of anything. So yeah, I mean, we knew we had a chance going into the race to take the lead in the first corner. But I think I did everything that I could there, and just the opportunity wasn't there. But yeah, we knew we had to obviously qualify well, which is a big part of avoiding the chaos, which we did. But yeah, just the opportunity wasn't really there to take the lead on the start.
So we're kind of at that point in the season. You've only got 2 rounds, 3 races left to go before your season does end. So currently at this stage, what are you thinking your plans for next year? Are you kind of intending for a return to Indy NXT? You're looking elsewhere? Just kind of tell us what you're currently looking at towards 2027.
Yeah, I mean, probably you're gonna get the same answer as if you ask anyone else. Is I don't know yet. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Maybe do another year of Indy next. Maybe try and get a seat in IndyCar, but it's difficult to get a seat. Takes a lot of budget and sort of right place, right time. So you never know. But I'm just fully focused on the last 2 rounds and doing everything I can to just win all 3 of the rest of the races of the year and end off the year really strong. That's fully what I'm focused on.
And I guess just focusing on this year at Andretti as well, like, what has that environment been like? Because I know they are obviously, and have been in recent years, the real gold standard in terms of Indy NXT teams. So I guess, how have you found that? Like, how have they maybe helped you to develop as well this season as a driver?
Yeah, I think this year has been a really big learning year for me. Racing at this level with this competition and the experience that a lot of these guys have has made me mature and think about racing a little bit in a different way. So I think it's been really good to have Andretti to help guide me through this process and help me, just learn as much as I can. And they have such talented people, such experienced people. For example, Bob Perona, the coach, he's amazing, and I have a really good relationship with him. I really enjoy working with him, and he's been a massive help so far this year. And Don Bricker, my engineer as well, Don Lambert, the team manager, all these guys have so much to teach me, and I'm just trying to, take it in as much as I can and try and make them proud and make them happy. But it's been really great. I can see why this team is so successful, and it's been a real pleasure this year to work with them. I've nothing bad to say about them.
And as we said, you've had quite the mixed season so far. So I guess maybe looking towards kind of the future, maybe what are the biggest lessons that you've learned maybe about yourself on track, off track, and maybe what will you kind of take from this year, which is really going to propel you maybe in future years in your career?
Yeah, I think just thinking about this season more, just thinking about more of a big picture, more of a time, like when I'm driving, when I'm racing, thinking more mature and less egotistical. sort of taking the ego and any emotion out of the window and just focusing on the process and doing what I can do, working with the team, just taking it step by step, session by session, and seeing how it plays out at the end of the weekends, and then improving from there for the next weekends, and that's kind of all you can ask for. I mean, if you look at if you look at the top guys in the championship, Nikita, Enzo, Timek, they've been, oftentimes not the fastest guy on the weekends, even like a lot of the time, not the fastest guy, but they just take what they can get, and they've been really smart throughout the year. And that's why they're up there in the championship a bit ahead of me. So I think that's that experience that they have over me, where they have a few extra years. Enzo, for example, has multiple years of F3, F2. And Nikita has a year or two over me. Same with Timek. So they just have been in this situation before, I think, and they learned what I'm learning right now, years prior, just with the level of maturity and sort of a bit more patience that it might take. But yeah, like I'm just trying to embrace these learning experiences, and honestly, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to learn these things and to go out there and show that I have learned these and improve on it and do better. So, I mean, you could look at it two ways, like, oh, it's disappointing that, I'm behind and this and that, but you could also look at it like this is such a great opportunity to learn off these guys and become a better driver.
And I guess talking of experiences this year, I think there are quite a few recent examples in this run you've had where you've kind of been recovering through the field for whatever reason. So
yeah,
I know while it's maybe not what the situation you would have preferably wanted, like, has that been quite a helpful test of your racecraft almost? And I guess it's something that people in the IndyCar paddock will see if you're racing through the field. So just talk a bit about some of those experiences you've had where you've actually had to come through the field, especially if overtaking, as you've said, can be quite difficult.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately so. I've had a lot of races where I've been sent to the back or had a mistake or something went wrong, and I've had to overtake and go through the field, at Nashville, Detroit, Road America, Mid-Ohio even. So it's kind of annoying, but then as well, it's a lot of fun, honestly. Overtaking a few of the guys at the back, and with the pace that I have, it feels a little bit like a video game. So it has been pretty fun, but also frustrating at the same time. But that's something where I've been really good, I think, honestly, having the racecraft and making these moves, especially most recently at Nashville. I was really happy with that race, and same with the team. They're really sort of surprised as well, because it's only the second oval race of the year and one of the first, of my career, so that's also been good learning. And hopefully if I make it to IndyCar, I'll most likely not be qualifying up front right away. So it could be a good experience, learning how to overtake around these tracks and setting up these passes. So it's been fun. It's been good, but I'd much rather not overtake anyone and just start first and finish first, so, but it's still good experiences.
So you mentioned the ovals. I know you obviously did a couple last year. So I guess, like, how well did doing those couple last year set you up? And ultimately, like, how are you finding this discipline of obviously racing much higher speed ovals?
Yeah, honestly, I love the ovals, man. They're so much fun. They're very different, a very unique challenge, but I love them more and more every time I go back to the oval. I leave it being like, damn, these ovals are sick, because they are. I mean, Nashville is 190, 200 miles an hour, and it's a lot of fun when you have a good race car and you're just overtaking one guy after the next. And I think Nashville is a really big step for me. I came out of St. Louis pretty happy, but wanting to make a step forward, and I knew I could, and I think I really achieved that at Nashville. So I was really happy with that, with my performance in Nashville. And yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the next race, Milwaukee, to go and make another step forward and put together a really clean weekend again. And see what we can do.
And as Archie mentioned, you raced at several races last season. So kind of those tracks that you've been to before and have familiarity in the Indy NXT card, does that help coming into the season, obviously with a different team? So does that really matter? Or is it, just tell us, does that experience give you an advantage, or is it kind of just the same race to race?
Yeah, I'd say it does give me an advantage. Just being more comfortable with these tracks and the sort of style and discipline that it takes to go oval racing in the Indy NXT car. It's for sure a big help, and that's why we did it last year, to gain the experience. But I think at this level now, where I'm competing instead of, back then I was sort of just learning, and now I'm really competing for podiums and wins. It's a little bit of a different race, which I'm also learning a little bit more. But it was definitely been very helpful.
So I mentioned this to you recently about your YouTube channel, which I think I said to you that actually it's very high-end stuff and is kind of on a par really with some of the stuff that we're seeing in IndyCar, and it's something that's quite impressive. And I would kind of say to anyone who's listening or watching this, like, to go and check it out, because it's a good insight into Indy NXT stuff. So I guess, why did you start doing that? And maybe what are some of the goals of having this kind of content being created every race for this YouTube channel?
Yeah, I mean, as we know, sponsors and social media following is a very big part of racing, and especially how it is now. So having a real audience and building an audience is very important. And so we started earlier this year to work with a social media team to produce a lot of content on YouTube and Instagram, and it's been really great so far. The YouTube series is really cool because you get to see a lot more in depth of the stuff that you wouldn't normally see, what goes on in the background, and all the little things from the ups and downs, my emotions throughout the weekend. And I think it's pretty cool perspective where you get to see a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally see. So it's pretty cool to watch those. And I've been really happy with the media team so far. And just the whole point of it is just to get more audience following me and more sponsors, and it's very important.
So a couple of weeks ago, we caught up with one of your good mates, Jack Beaton, and he kind of told us about this Indy NXT driver building that you've got. There's a lot of you in kind of the same property. So tell us a little bit about this building. What's it like? Well, not living, but living the same property as all these other Indy NXT drivers. Is a bit chaotic. Who's a good housemate? Who's maybe not so good of a housemate? What's going on there?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been great. I'm at the apartment right now. I have my sim right behind me, my roommate's sim right there. But yeah, no, it's been great. I was at lunch earlier today with Jack and a few of the other boys. But yeah, no, it's honestly, I really enjoy it. It's a really cool community that we have, and probably the closest thing I'll get to college or something like that. So it's really cool to have. And as well, before I moved here, I didn't have like much of a social life. So now having, I mean, it's true, because like all my friends are racing drivers, So now having this community of so many of my friends here has been really great. We get to go karting or go play paddle, go get lunch, just hang out. So it's been really fun.
Who's the quickest in the car? Is there like the fastest drivers in next quick in the karts as well? What's
I mean, most of the time we don't even do laps. We'll just be wrecking each other most of the time. So it's kind of hard to say. But honestly, the go-kart stuff is really fun. Like going back to that, and like we had a really big group of us. Like it was a bunch of the Indy NXT guys. Then this Hauger came out, and we just messed around, had a lot of fun. So it's cool to have that here in Carmel, Indiana.
Jack said you're the quickest on the sim, so that's the achievement that you can take.
Good on the sim. I'm not bad. Yeah.
How is that dynamic? Because obviously loads of you guys are really good friends, but then also you get onto the track and you're just trying to beat each other and try and, take each other's opportunities when it comes to stepping up as well. So what's that dynamic like in terms of being close off track, but then kind of having to leave that behind a bit when you get on the track? Yeah,
I think most of us have a, understanding of disassociating on track versus off track. When our helmets get on and the visor goes down and we go out on track, it's not Jack Beaton who I'm racing, or Seb Murray, or whoever it is. It's just another car. That's all it is. I'm trying to overtake and beat them, and that's all it is. And then off track we get to just sort of disassociate with it and have fun just normally. And I think most of us are able to do that.
Cool. So 3 races to go. Like, what's your perspective and kind of your outlook now? Because obviously you are a little bit back in points. Like, does it matter to you massively, like, where you finish in points now? Is it more about kind of just going all out and trying to win races? Like, what is your perspective going into these final few?
I mean, I think still into every weekend, even earlier in the year, I'm trying to win every race. You know, that's the goal when you go to a racetrack, and that's what it'll always be, to go and win. So that still hasn't unchanged. And yeah, I'm far back in the championship, but technically still in it. You never know what could happen. But yeah, I mean, goal is to get probably top 3 in the championship. I'm 4th right now, so that would be a bit nicer. But yeah, just focus on, honestly, just going out there, doing the process right, and trying to win every race of the rest of the year.
Max, congratulations once again on your Portland podium. It's been good to catch up with you again after all this time, and let's hope it's not as many races until the next one. I mean, it might be more months just because the season somehow almost ended, but hopefully we'll catch you again sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
So there you have it. That was Max Taylor, and of course before, Alessandro de Tullio, and that concludes the interview segment on this week's Indy NXT Debrief. But before we end, we want to recap the Portland weekend. And first of all, Dan, you've got some driver changes to report from ahead of the weekend.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of driver changes so far this year, but coming into this weekend, we saw 3 driver changes. So we thought we were kind of updating you with the key changes before we speak about them in qualifying and the race, to get to know these drivers a little bit better, as we'll likely see them for the rest of the season in some cases. So the first one we already knew about, we spoke on the last episode. Nolan Alla returned to the 76 Juncos Hollinger Racing entry that had been previously raced by Riccardo Scotto for a lot of the year, but he's focused on FIA Formula 3. That car was vacant the last round at Nashville. Alla raced at the doubleheader at Mid-Ohio, returned for Portland. He will also be at the season finale at Laguna Seca. So we were aware of that one. Next up, we move to HMD Motorsports in the 17 entry, which has been occupied by Salvador de Alba for the entirety of the campaign. However, budget issues have forced him to sit out of this round and the last 2 races of the year at Laguna Seca. He will be back at Milwaukee to defend the race victory that he earned 1 year ago. In his place steps in Bart Harrison, who has spent the year racing in the Euro Cup 3 Series. He's also got some experience in GB Freeway and the podium, and did a couple of F4 championships last year. The great thing about Bart is he's from England. So it's great to have another Englishman around in Indy NXT. Our first since Louis. So, I mean, Archie, that was fantastic news. Another Englishman, not quite from our neck of the woods, really. He's from Yorkshire, which is way too north for me.
He's from up north. That's
Louis more southern.
Good for me.
So we're 1-1 now. That Louis more southern, and you've got the northern one. So good to see another Englishman. Bart will be in at Laguna Seca as well for the last 2 races there. And the final change to make you aware of is that Able Motorsports in the number 48 entry. That's been occupied by Jordan Missig for the entirety of the year. As we spoke about in our Nashville episode, he had quite a heavy crash with JM Correa, which really tore his car apart. And following the damage to that car, Missig unfortunately doesn't have the funds to repair that car for the rest of the season, hence has to end the season slightly earlier than planned due to the budget constraints associated with that crash. Following on from that, the replacement is a very familiar face, especially to this podcast, with Jacob Abel returning to Indy NXT, obviously the series vice champion 2024 and the Portland winner the same year, as obviously raced an IndyCar last season, as well as competing in the Indianapolis 500 this year. And obviously a very good friend of the show, as you said, is obviously his father's team, hence he's a pretty easy replacement. And considering his success in Indy NXT, he's going to bring in a lot of experience for a team that have kind of shown on their own street program for a lot of the year. So he's going to really help aid them forward in these last couple of rounds. And obviously a very simple solution, as Missig unfortunately cannot compete this season, as we said, due to those budget issues. But let's move on to what happened in qualifying. Archie, take us away.
Yes, indeed. And as we spoke to him about earlier on in this episode, it was Alessandro de Tullio on pole position for a record-tying 8th time this season. And along with that, it was a 12th front row start in 14 races. So scintillating pace again from the AJ Foyt Racing driver. This was by far the tightest of his pole positions, though. He actually ran in the less favoured Group 1, Lockie Hughes top Group 2, and was a mere 0.0033 seconds behind de Tullio. So an incredibly tight margin for de Tullio to secure his pole position. So that front row of de Tullio and Hughes was followed in the order by Max Taylor, starting third for Andretti, teammate to Hughes, of course. And then HMD Motorsports' Timek Kuharczyk was the best place of the championship protagonists, fourth on the grid. He started the weekend third in points. Looking at the other protagonists on that title front, it was a pretty tough start to the weekend for both championship leader Nikita Johnson and second in points Enzo Fittipaldi. They both were pretty off the pace in practice. Johnson, in the end, for Cape Motorsports, powered by Ed Carpenter Racing, qualified 9th, and Fittipaldi, who trailed Johnson by only a single point going into the weekend, was 12th for HMD. Looking back at the rest of the top 10 in the order, Abel ended up qualifying 5th on his return. A pretty impressive effort after almost 2 years out of the car. Some significant changes to the car in that period as well. So he was showing his experience and up to pace pretty quickly for a team that has struggled on road courses this year. His teammate Miles Rowe was one position back in the order in 6th. Chip Ganassi Racing's Niels Coolen in 7th. Josh Pearson 8th for Andretti, and the top 10 are rounded out by Johnson and Cusick Morgan Motorsports' JM Correa. And just to round off, harking back to your previous segment, Dan, Harrison qualified in 17th on debut for HMD, and Alla was down in 22nd. So Dan, onto the race.
Yes, Archie, and as we've spoken about with both Alessandro and Max, turn 1, as we know, is a very tricky point at Portland, especially in that one where we've seen all over the years there have been so many incidents, and that is your opportunity to make big gains. However, in the top 5, no major movement. De Tullio held his lead from Hughes and Taylor. The two Andretti teammates made slight contact through turn 2, but they all ended up okay ahead of Kuharczyk and Abel as they all kept positions. There were two big losers, though, on that start, the first of which being Jack Beaton, who was punted by Matteo Nannini at the start. Nannini earned a penalty for his troubles. Beaton spun round and right at the back of the field. To add insult to injury for Nannini, he also picked up front wing damage in the exchange, with his race pretty much over after one lap for the defending race winner from Nashville. The other big loser was one of our championship contenders in Johnson, who ran wide Xing turn 2, got stuck on the grass and lost a whole heap of positions. And at the end of lap 1, he was down in 17th, which at the time could have been really costly for his championship, as it's extremely tight, you mentioned, between him and Fittipaldi. But we weren't racing for long as the caution came out at the end of lap 2 after Castaneta made a error exiting the final corner as he spun up the rear tyres and hit the inside barrier. It actually was quite a good start for Retta, who had moved up from 19th in the grid to 14th and before he made that slight error, and that brought out the caution of him unable to reverse out of the barrier. And then from that point forward, the race was a completely green flag race. There was a couple of smaller incidents further down the field. Niels Coolen and Miles Rowe had an accident entering turn 1. Rowe half spun, which lost him about 5 places or so, and Coolen got a drive-through penalty for that incident. And Max Garcia lost a couple of places going over a curb into turn 1. We're trying to make an overtake. And Josh Pearson, who was running his home race at Portland, picked up some front wing damage after colliding with Rowe at the start, which meant he had to replace that front wing and lost a lot of positions. Throughout this all, though, Fittipaldi and Johnson were pretty much locked together for the entire race. As soon as one made a position, the other one would make a position, as they were kind of picking off all those drivers I mentioned earlier who had varying sorts of trouble. But as we spoke about with Max slightly earlier, overtaking was pretty difficult. There wasn't really any green flag overtakes from this point, and it was very easy for de Tullio out in front. There was a couple of moments with lap cars, but it was all fairly simple for him as he crossed the line first to take a second victory of the year, fairly comfortably in the end over Hughes, who finished second for yet another podium. His form was kind of picked up in his last couple of rounds, and Taylor returned to the podium for the first time since the Indianapolis road course race, coming home in third. Kuharczyk had a trouble-free days. He was a top HMD driver in 4th place and the top of the 3 primary championship contenders. Abel finished 5th in his return. A pretty decent effort, I thought. It was a pretty quiet race for Abel, but considering the new gearbox and differential, as you mentioned earlier, Archie, I thought it was a pretty decent effort for Abel, all things considered, the top Abel Motorsports driver in the race. Correa was ahead of the 2 main championship contenders in Fittipaldi and Johnson. Archie will get into standings in a minute, but once again, that remains extremely close. Garcia ended up 9th, and a good run for Bart Harrison on debut. He finished 10th on his Indy NXT debut and from 17th on the grid. So some good progress there for the Englishman. Nolan Anna is finished 11th. He was the top mover of the race. As we spoke about Jack Beaton at the start, and he had a little incident with Matteo Nannini, as we said, but that wasn't the end of Beaton's wars throughout the day. His next flashpoint was with Miles Rowe. He was trying to make an overtake on Rowe going into turn 1. Rowe missed the corner and cut the corner effectively and almost collided with Beaton once to come back on the track. Race control wasn't happy with what Rowe did, so they moved him back in position behind Beaton. The Beaton versus Rowe war continued, though, into the final lap, as when trying to make another overtake, Beaton didn't quite make the corner. He half vaulted over that curve, which you've seen cars vault over many a time. And he kind of vaulted into the side of Rowe and kind of rode alongside his car, like at a diagonal angle for probably a couple of meters before he came up, which was a very interesting sight to see, a very dramatic incident, but they both continued to see the checkered flag. And the Beaton's dramas were still not done, as he had a run-in with his countryman Nicola Stati. Stati just held up Beaton a bit unnecessarily on the final lap. Stati was a lap down and way out of contention of racing anybody. Beaton had been in the wars and was clearly frustrated. He was very animated. He exited the car and ran over to Stati, gave him a little push to show his frustration, and before it was all broken apart and ended there. So a wild day for Jack Beaton. He ended up finishing 13th in the running order. So Archie, after all that, take us through the championship standings, which have continued to close.
Yes, it has only got tighter once again, and it's essentially roles reversed for Fittipaldi and for Johnson. Fittipaldi now leads by a point. Johnson led by a point going into the weekend, so not much has changed there. The gap between first and second is exactly the same. It is only that Fittipaldi is now ahead of Johnson, and Kuharczyk, owing to finishing a few places ahead of the pair, has closed to within 18 points from third in the championship. Behind the lead trio, Taylor has made slight grounds, although he's still 80 points off the championship lead. He told us that he wants to finish top 3 in points if possible, and he is currently 62 points off Kuharczyk in third. Hughes and De Tullio are the only two drivers also within 100 points of the lead. Hughes at 90 back, De Tullio at 98 back. Miles Rowe is next in the order at 132 points back, and Beaton is kind of in contention mathematically still, although everyone ahead just needs to start the rest of the races for him to be wiped out. He is at 160 points back. Maximum, a reminder that you can score on a weekend, is 54.
So the series has a couple of weeks off whilst IndyCar heads to Markham and Washington. They next head to Milwaukee for the final oval race of the year in a single header race. The series did do a test at Milwaukee at the end of June. Of note, Fittipaldi did top that test. Kuharczyk was in 10th and Johnson 13th. These last two Indy NXT Debriefs also have a lot of attention on the championship, as Fittipaldi, Johnson and Kuharczyk all battle it out. Ovals have been particularly interesting so far this year. Johnson had a good run at Nashville, but generally HMD have struggled a little bit at ovals, and Johnson wasn't superb at Gateway, so it can be very interesting to see how this pans out, and a very important weekend in the context of the championship, with just the doubleheader at Laguna Seca to go after this round. As we mentioned earlier, Salvador Diab will be back at HMD Motorsports next weekend. Nolan Anna won't be racing for Hunkers Hollinger Racing. Remains to be seen whether Jacob Abe will return. So keep an eye out on social media, and we'll, of course, give you the updates on Indy NXT Debrief after the Milwaukee race. But that's all we've got for Portland. As always, thanks to both Max and Alessandro for their time. But for this occasion, thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.